Happy Sunday lunch, everyone. So I'm walking in the street for my lunch, looking for what you call this, uh, unique food to eat. Actually, is in the name of food. But while walking, guys, let's hear, guys, a what you call this opinion of a well-known speaker about the chaos in Iran and what you call this, the Israel. Yes, at sa mga nadamay ng mga lugar. Yes, guys, kasi there are root causes behind the scene for sure. So let's hear, guys, one of the speaker's opinion, why it happened, how it happened, or and more. So here we go. Ayan na, guys. Yes, yes, yes. Positive.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something funny about power. Everyone thinks power is loud. Big speeches, big missiles, big headlines. But real power is when someone quietly moves the chess pieces while the whole world is watching the wrong square. And that's exactly what just happened. When people heard that Iran was hitting back against America and its allies, most imagined one thing: missiles flying everywhere, explosions on TV, dramatic music in the background like a Hollywood movie. But geopolitics doesn't work like Hollywood. It works more like a complicated family dinner. You insult one cousin, suddenly three uncles are involved. Two aunties stop talking, and someone blocks the door. That's how the situation escalated. Now think about this for a second. Iran didn't just wake up one morning and say, "Let's fight the world today." Countries don't behave like angry teenagers. They behave like chess players who sometimes wait years before making one move. And when retaliation came, it wasn't just one action, it was a combination of pressure points, military signals, regional pressure, economic threats, and psychological messaging. Iran understands something many countries understand very well. If you cannot match strength directly, you change the battlefield. And suddenly the battlefield is not just one place, it spreads across regions, across economies, across alliances. Now imagine you are a shipping company moving oil through the Middle East. Your job yesterday was simple: move oil from point A to point B. Today, your insurance is skyrocketing. Your ships are being tracked. Your routes might be threatened. Your investors are nervous. And suddenly a conflict between governments becomes a crisis for global business. You see, the modern world is like a giant spider web. Pull one thread, and the vibration travels everywhere. Oil markets feel it. Stock markets feel it. Shipping companies feel it. Even the price of gas at a small station thousands of miles away can feel it. And this is why retaliation today doesn't look like old wars. Old wars were simple: two armies, two borders, clear winners and losers. Modern conflicts, they are messy. They involve economics, cyber systems, alliances, energy markets, and public opinion all at once. It's like playing 5 chessboards at the same time. And here's the thing that most people misunderstand. Retaliation is not always about destroying your opponent. Sometimes it's about making them uncomfortable, making the situation expensive. Now look at the global reaction. Shipping routes suddenly became the center of attention. Energy markets started whispering about oil shocks, military alliances began moving assets around the region, and analysts started asking the big question everyone is thinking about: is this escalation or negotiation pressure? And when tensions rise like this, something very interesting happens in politics. Leaders start calculating. Not emotionally, strategically. What can we gain? What can we lose? How far do we push? And most importantly, what is the exit door? Because every conflict eventually reaches the same moment. The moment when both sides stop asking, "How do we win?" and start asking something much more important: "How do we get out of this without looking weak?" Now here is where things start getting really interesting. Because the moment tensions rise in the Middle East, the map suddenly becomes very crowded. You see, the region is like a neighborhood where everyone's houses are connected by the same electricity line. If one house catches fire, the others don't say, "That's not my problem." They immediately start checking their own wires. And this is exactly why Gulf countries suddenly found themselves in the middle of the conversation. Now think about geography for a moment. Most people hear about the Middle East and imagine endless desert. But in reality, one of the most important highways on planet Earth runs right through this region. Not a road, not a railway, A water highway. Tankers, massive oil ships, gas carriers. Every single day, enormous ships move through these narrow waterways, carrying the energy that powers factories, airplanes, cars, and entire economies. And here's the crazy part. One small choke point can affect the entire global system. Imagine a highway where 20% of the world's oil traffic passes through a single lane. Now imagine someone even hinting that this lane could be blocked. You don't even need to block it. Just the possibility creates panic. Oil traders start sweating. Insurance companies raise premiums. Shipping companies rethink routes. Markets react before anything even happens. It's like someone shouting traffic jam on a bridge before the cars even arrive. Now here's why Gulf countries get dragged into this situation. Many of them host U.S. military bases. They have security partnerships with Western countries. But at the same time, they are neighbors of Iran. And living next door to someone powerful requires balance. It's like living between two strong personalities in a family. You try to stay friendly with both. You avoid choosing sides too loudly. You keep your doors open, but your windows closed. Because in geopolitics, survival often means managing relationships very carefully. Some Gulf nations depend heavily on stable oil exports. Some depend on global trade flowing smoothly. Some depend on security guarantees. So when tensions rise between big powers in the region, these countries suddenly find themselves walking on a tightrope. They don't want war. They don't want instability. But they also cannot completely ignore alliances. It's like being the middle manager in a company where two powerful executives are fighting. You just want everyone to calm down so the business can continue. But the conflict keeps dragging everyone into the room. And then there's the shipping lanes themselves. These waterways are not just regional routes, they are global arteries. Japan depends on them. Europe depends on them. China depends on them. India depends on them. Even countries thousands of miles away are indirectly tied to what happens in these narrow waters. So when tensions rise, naval ships suddenly appear. Security patrols increase. Satellite monitoring increases. Everyone is watching. Everyone is calculating risk. And suddenly a regional conflict becomes a global economic concern. Because modern economies run on energy and logistics. Interrupt those two things and you shake the entire system. And that's why whenever tension rises in this part of the world, governments, traders, and analysts all start watching the same map. Not because they expect war immediately, but because they understand something simple. Sometimes the most powerful move in geopolitics is not firing a weapon. It's reminding the world exactly where the pressure points are. Now let's talk about the thing that makes everyone suddenly behave like they just saw their credit card bill. Oil. Because you can argue about politics all day. You can debate ideology, history, alliances, blame. But the moment oil prices jump, suddenly everybody becomes very peace-loving. It's amazing. When oil is cheap, people talk tough. When oil gets expensive, leaders start saying, let's find a diplomatic solution. Because oil is not just a commodity, it's the bloodstream of the modern economy. Factories need it, trucks need it, planes need it, shipping needs it. Even your food price is connected to it because fertilizer, transport, packaging, everything gets more expensive when energy gets more expensive. So when Iran signals anything related to the Strait of Hormuz, the world listens like students when the teacher says, surprise test. Why? Because Hormuz is one of the biggest choke points on Earth. It's narrow, it's busy, and a huge portion of global oil and gas shipments pass through it. Now, here's the psychological genius, if you can call it that. Behind the Hormuz threat, you don't need to close it to cause an oil shock. You just need the world to believe closing it is possible. Markets are emotional. Traders buy fear and sell confidence. So if there's even a small chance shipping becomes risky, prices start moving. Insurance premiums rise. Freight costs rise. Companies start stockpiling. Speculators start betting. And then the headlines do the rest. It becomes a loop. Fear creates price spikes, and price spikes create more fear. And this is where it hits everyday people. Because the oil shock isn't just a number on a financial screen, it becomes higher gas prices at the pump, higher cost of delivery for everything, higher airline tickets, higher food prices, and inflation pressure that makes everyone angry at their government, even if their government is 5,000 kilometers away from the conflict. It's like when your neighbor's kitchen catches fire and your rent goes up, you're like, how is this my problem?
This is the most anticipated smart security camera of the year.
No internet connection needed. No. You're like, how is this my problem? Welcome to globalization. Now imagine you are a Gulf country exporting oil. On one hand, higher oil prices mean more revenue. Sounds good, right? But on the other hand, instability threatens your ability to ship. And if ships can't move, you don't get paid. So the ideal situation for oil exporters is not high prices with chaos. It's steady prices with stability. Because business loves predictability. And geopolitics is the enemy of predictability. Now here's what makes the Hormuz situation so dangerous in terms of global psychology. It's not just one country, it's not just one threat, it's the idea that the global economy depends on a narrow passage where tensions can flare up. That makes everyone nervous. It's like building your entire company on one supplier. Even if the supplier is reliable, the risk is always there, and when risk is there, markets price it in. That's why even rumors matter. Even maybe matters. Even could matters. Now imagine you're sitting in Washington trying to decide what to do next. Every move has consequences. If you escalate, oil prices could spike and voters get angry. If you don't respond, you look weak. If you negotiate, your opponents call you soft. If you strike, you risk broader conflict. So Hormuz becomes not just a shipping lane, it becomes leverage. Because in this world, leverage is not only military, leverage is economic, and oil is one of the strongest levers on earth. So when people say oil shock and Hormuz threat, what they really mean is, this is not just a regional problem anymore. This is a global pressure point. And when pressure points get squeezed, everybody feels it. So people talk about missiles, because missiles make good footage. Big fireball, big headline, big drama, but the most dangerous weapon today, you can't film it. You can't point a camera at it. You don't even know it hit you until your screen freezes and your manager starts sweating. Cyber. And this is the part nobody talks about enough, because it's not loud, it's inconvenient. It's like a mosquito in your bedroom. Not scary, just impossible to sleep. Now think about how modern countries actually run. Oil doesn't just flow because someone wills it. It flows because computers coordinate. Pipelines, ports, shipping schedules, navigation systems, customs, bank payments, insurance approvals. Even the gas station near your house is basically a computer with snacks. So if tensions rise and cyber attacks start flying, the battlefield isn't only bases and borders, it's power grids. It's port logistics, it's satellite navigation, it's financial systems. And the worst part, cyber war doesn't need permission. There's no official declaration, no press conference. Good morning, we have started a cyber conflict. It just happens. One day the port is working, next day the port is experiencing technical difficulties. And suddenly 200 ships are waiting like customers outside a restaurant that forgot to open. Now, here's why this becomes a huge risk in this exact situation. Because the Middle East energy system is like a giant machine made of many parts. If you hit one part, say loading terminals, refinery controls, or shipping coordination, you don't have to destroy it forever. You just have to disrupt it long enough to create fear. And fear is expensive. The moment companies feel uncertainty, they slow down. They reroute, they pay more for security, they increase prices. And then everyone asks, why is everything so expensive? Because someone somewhere made a few clicks. This is why cyber is attractive in modern retaliation. It's deniable, it's flexible, and it's asymmetric. If you can't match a superpower in direct military hardware, you target what keeps the system running. You target confidence, you target convenience, you target the invisible plumbing of modern life. And here's the funny but not funny part. Cyber isn't just government versus government. It's also groups, proxies, freelancers, patriotic hackers, and people who just want chaos for entertainment. So escalation can spiral even when leaders don't officially want it to. It's like lighting a match near a gas stove and then saying, relax, I only wanted a little flame. Now imagine you are a government in the Gulf. You rely on shipping, you rely on energy exports, you rely on stability. If a cyber disruption hits a port for even a few days, it becomes a global headline. And markets react again. Because remember, markets don't wait. They don't say, let's see the full investigation report. They say, I'm out. I'm pricing in risk. And that's where cyber becomes a silent amplifier. It takes a tense situation and makes it feel unstable everywhere at once. So while people argue about who fired what and where, the real question smart leaders worry about is, what happens if the lights flicker? What happens if the ports freeze? What happens if the oil system gets jammed? Not by bombs, but by code. Because in 2026, a war doesn't always start with a bang. Sometimes it starts with a loading screen. Now comes the biggest question everyone is quietly asking. What does America do next? And what does Trump do? Because politics is not only about power, it's about timing. Imagine you're the leader of a huge company. One of your competitors just made a bold move that embarrassed you in front of the whole market. Now you have four options. You hit back immediately to show strength. You apply pressure quietly behind the scenes. You escalate and risk a bigger fight. Or you step back and look for a deal. None of these choices are simple, because every move has a cost. If the US escalates too hard, it risks dragging the entire region into a wider conflict. That means higher oil prices, nervous markets, and global instability. If it does nothing, critics will say it looks weak. And in politics, perception is sometimes as powerful as reality, especially for someone like Donald Trump. His style has always been interesting, loud on the outside, but often very focused on leverage. Remember how he negotiates, create pressure, create headlines, push the situation to the edge, then look for a deal that makes you look like the winner. It's very similar to business negotiations. You don't start with a calm handshake. You start with tension. So the final agreement feels like a victory. So the real question isn't simply, will there be escalation? The real question is whether both sides are pushing the situation toward a new negotiation. Because history shows something important about conflicts like this. Eventually, everyone looks for an exit. Not because they suddenly become friends, but because the cost of continuing becomes too high. Oil markets start shaking. Allies start getting nervous. Shipping companies complain. Businesses complain. Voters complain. And suddenly, leaders realize something very simple. Winning the fight is one thing, managing the consequences is another. So what we might be watching right now is not just retaliation. It could be positioning. A dangerous chess game where both sides move pieces, show strength, and test limits, while quietly calculating the same question. Not how do we destroy the other side, but something much more practical. How do we walk away from this without looking like we lost? Thank you for listening. And don't forget to like.
Yes, have to like and share. Charis. That's it, guys. My God. Thank you for watching. And please do take care kasi we didn't know it's next what will happen next in this year 2026. Yes, happy Sunday everyone again. Thank you for watching. If it happened, guys, that you reach this point, please comment. Keep safe everyone. Thank you. Yes. Hello. Ang haba pa pala talaga. Ayan na.